In the top stories, government and security forces collaborate on crime-fighting strategy. Wendy's captain looks for positives in defeat. And Ziron Carey sentenced for illegal firearm possession. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, July 22nd, 2024. I'm Scotty Sia Hendrickson. Nationally, in light of the recent upsurge in gun violence, the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Terence Drew, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Glenroy Blanchett, convened an emergency meeting with the High Command of the Police and Defense Force to address the pressing issue. The meeting held at the police headquarters was pivotal in reviewing the homicides and formulating a robust strategy to curb this alarming trend. The Prime Minister expressed his grave concern over this upsurge in gun-related incidents, emphasizing the government's commitment to ensuring the safety and security of all citizens. Quote, "The protection of our citizens is paramount. We will make the necessary resources at our disposal available to the security forces to combat this threat and restore peace to our communities," stated Dr. Drew. During the meeting, the High Command of the Police and Defense Force presented a comprehensive analysis of the recent incidents, identifying patterns and potential underlying causes. The discussion was focused on immediate and long-term measures, including increased patrols, strategic deployments, enhanced intelligence operations, and community engagement initiatives. The Prime Minister reaffirmed the government's dedication to a swift and decisive response to gun violence. The meeting concluded with a commitment to ongoing assessments and adjustments to the strategy to ensure its effectiveness. The West Indies suffered a 241-run defeat at the hands of England in the second test played at Trent Bridge. Speaking after the match, West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite said he believes the team needs to learn from their mistakes and use these lessons to build for the future.
I think the more you play, the more in these type of situations, pressure situations, playing international cricket, and you learn, and once you're learning and once you're thinking about how to get better, it could only be beneficial for us. My thing for the boys once again, it's history, it's gone. The two defeats are gone. We still have 5 test matches remaining for this year, so we keep learning, and it could only, by the end of the year, you'll be better off once we have that correct mindset.
West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite. Ziron Carey, 26 of Connery Village, St. Kitts, has been sentenced for possessing an illegal firearm. On January 9, 2023, the police responded to a report of a shooting incident in Connery. After thorough investigations were concluded and conducted, Carey and another individual were arrested and charged with possession of an illegal firearm on January 12, 2023. Carey, who appeared before High Court Judge His Lordship Justice Ian Marley, KC, pleaded guilty to the charge on July 18, 2024, and was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment at His Majesty's Prison. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has commended the efforts of all officers involved in bringing this case to a successful conclusion and has reiterated its commitment to upholding the rule of law and ensuring the safety and security of our citizens. In regional news, 4 individuals have been charged with money laundering in Guyana following a joint operation by customs officers and the Special Organized Crime Unit, or SOCU. Safi Ahmed, Shamina Ahmed, Shaina Salame, all residents of Versailles, West Bank, Demerara, and Ian Jacobs from West Coast Demerara appeared before Magistrate Sunil Scarce at the Diamond Magistrates Court. The charges stem from an incident on June 3, 2024, when customs officers at the Chetty Jagan International Airport intercepted a substantial amount of gold being smuggled out of the country. According to a police report, Shamina Ahmed, Ashiana Salame, and Ian Jacobs were attempting to take out of the country approximately 240 ounces of virtually pure gold disguised as silver-plated jewelry without having the necessary permits and declarations to customs officials, end quote. The value of the seized gold is estimated at over US $560,000 in court. In court, the accused were not required to enter a plea. Magistrates scarce granted bail at $500,000 each, with a specific condition for Safi Ahmed to report to SOCU on the last Friday of every month. The case has been adjourned to July 30th, 2024 for further proceedings. Cocoa and nutmeg farmers in Grenada who registered for crop insurance are set to receive reimbursements for their losses following the devastating impact of Hurricane Beryl on July 1st. This comes as the Dominica-based core EFF Insurance Company Limited is partnering with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association to ensure coverage totaling EC 7.9 million for nutmeg and cocoa farmers in Grenada. According to Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Isaac Bagwan, affected farmers can qualify for a, quote, tropical cyclone index payment of US $1,453,813, equivalent to EC $3,881,680 under the Flexible Hurricane Protection Policy, end quote. He said farmers must be encouraged to buy into the issue of crop insurance, noting the frequency and intensity of natural disasters due to the climate change phenomenon. The farmers not covered by insurance, particularly those cultivating economic crops, a livelihood support package will be provided by the Ministry of Agriculture. In international news, President Joe Biden has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. Quote, "My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it has been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee for our party this year." Biden wrote this in a social media statement. The president's endorsement is likely to shut down any serious competition from other Democrats to be the nominee, clearing the path for the vice president to be the 2024 Democratic candidate. The Harris for President campaign tweeted the recent endorsement of Kamala Harris that have poured in from Democratic elected officials in a news release Sunday night, citing overwhelming support for VP Harris from every corner of the country. The campaign reiterated that Harris, quote, "will do everything in her power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump and his Extreme Project 2025 agenda," end quote. CNN has been able to identify more than 500 endorsements for Harris from Democratic delegates as early as Monday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu left for Washington on Monday, leaving behind a brutal war to make a political precarious speech before the U.S. Congress at a time of great uncertainty following Joe Biden's withdrawal from the presidential race. With efforts ongoing to bring about a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, rising concerns about the war spreading to Lebanon and Yemen, and the U.S. in the midst of a dizzying election campaign, Netanyahu's speech has the potential to cause disarray on both sides of the ocean. The risk only increased with Biden's decision Sunday to drop out of the race for president, especially since the choice of a replacement Democratic nominee and the potential next American leader are still up in the air. Before stepping on the plane, Netanyahu said he would emphasize the theme of Israel's bipartisanship in his speech and said Israel would remain America's key ally in the Middle East, quote, regardless who the American people choose as their next president, end quote. A person familiar with Biden's schedule confirmed Sunday that the president will host Netanyahu at the White House. Netanyahu is scheduled to address Congress on Wednesday. He is also expected to meet with Vice President Kamala Harris, who is seeking the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. It is Netanyahu's fourth speech to Congress, more than any other world leader. During his address, his far-right governing partners will want to hear his resolve to continue the war and topple Hamas. And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy with a slight dust haze. Winds are moderate from the northeast at 16 miles per hour. The temperature is 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are 1.2 to 1.5 meters or 4 to 5 feet. The weather forecast for today predicts partly cloudy skies with a 20% or a slight chance of a few brief showers. Tonight is expected to be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of a few passing showers. Sunset today will be at 6:47 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:47 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Scotty Sia Hendrickson.